had started to notice what I viewed as water damage to the floor of our front living room. The flooring is an engineered wood floor, which means the planks are manufactured just like plywood. There are multiple layers with opposing grains to promote stability for temperature and humidity. But what I noticed was the top layer on a few of the planks, the corners had lifted, and the top layer had started to split just a little bit. I had also noticed the block below our front porch, the mortar had kind of cracked and started to come out. At first, I did not put two and two together, did not think that they had anything to do with each other. But then as I noticed that any rainfall onto our porch was flowing towards the house, everything started to make sense. That rainwater was making its way into the house, wicking through the sheathing, making its way to the floor. But that also explained the cracking on the block. The backfill up against the foundation of our house had settled, allowing the porch to sag in the back. The upper layer of blocks are basically attached to the bottom of the porch slab, so they were starting to rock backwards, opening up the front edge and allowing the mortar to break apart and to come out. To start this process, they drill holes through the concrete slab, whether it be a sidewalk, porch, whatever, which obviously in this case is our front porch. Drilling it at different locations based upon where they need to actually lift the slab. Into those holes, they hammer in plastic nozzles. They wedge into the concrete, and this is what the spray foam gun attaches to. A spray foam gun looks just like the type of guns that they use to spray foam on the inside of your house when they're insulating it. To start off with the gun, they are spraying it into a trash bag to ensure the nozzles are clear and clean, and also to make sure the mixture is proper and that the foam is expanding the way it needs to. They use a pair of vice grips to hold the gun attached to the plastic nozzle. He squirts in a little bit at a time, and then he gives the foam time to expand. He listens, watches, and feels for the concrete slab to lift. He can lift the concrete slab 1/16 of an inch at a time. You don't obviously want to pump too much foam into the void under the slab and raise it too high, because then there would be no turning back from that. Our porch had settled and was low against our door by about 1.5 inches to 1 3/4 inches. So this is where he started, and there was quite a bit of foam that needed to be injected into this area. If you look right around where the gun is, you can see the spray foam is starting to come up between the slab and the house. That'll fill that little crack and void and force the rest of the foam to stay underneath. Once they are done with a hole, they use this pry bar to pop those plastic nozzles out of the hole that they will later fill with mortar to help conceal the hole. Once they get that to a certain level, they will then move to another hole and try to bring the slab up evenly instead of jacking it at just one end first. We needed to drill another hole or go deeper in one of the existing holes in order to get the foam down underneath where it had started to solidify, to help raise that middle section. And that's what the worker is doing here, using a longer bit to go through that foam and get down underneath. We did not raise the slab all the way up against the bottom of the door quite yet. The worker is putting caulking underneath the threshold, and then is jacking the porch up underneath, which will then squeeze out the caulking and make for a perfect waterproof seal against the door. This is not something I had even considered, and I'm thankful that these workers know enough to do that ahead of time. Here they are finalizing the last hole, lifting up the last section, checking to make sure that it did not squeeze out on the side of the porch, and then checking for final level to ensure that everything is just right. Once that is done and everything is cleaned, they caulk all of the joints in the slab. This included the expansion joints as well as a stress fracture that we had. Using a grinder, he ground out the crack and filled all joints with the caulking. This prevents water from making its way into any of those joints, and then during winter, freezing and expanding and causing the slab to move. This was very important for their warranty. 5-year warranty on the porch lift, as long as all of those cracks are sealed, which they did. The most important thing was that when everything was all done, my porch no longer sloped towards the house. It had the proper fall, and water now flows away from the house.